Hello and welcome to today's Grace's Dreams workshop. In today's workshop, we are going to make our very own firework rocket. If you would like to make your own firework rocket, what you will need for this workshop is one piece of A4 paper. It could be any colour that you want. Some tissue paper, but you can also use more paper. A glue and one pair of scissors. And while we're waiting for your play specialist to get this, we are going to start with today's story, which is Disney's Onward. In a world where magic had been replaced by technology, Ian Lightfoot was a shy teenage elf who lived with his mum, brother Barley, and their pet dragon Blazy. Ian and Barley's dad had passed away when the boys were very young. Ian missed his dad every day and wished he could talk to him for real. Today was Ian's 16th birthday, and his mum, Laurel, had a surprise for him. Ian and Barley's dad had left a special gift for them, which was only to be opened when both the boys had turned 16. Inside was a real wizard staff, a rare phoenix gem, and a visitation spell. They could allow Ian and Barley to bring back their dad for one day only. Up in Ian's bedroom, the brothers tried the spell, and suddenly a beam of light shot out of the staff. Then their father's shoes and socks began to materialise, but Ian was struggling to hold the staff steady. Barley tried to help, but the gem exploded. They thought the spell had failed until they heard something rustling in the wardrobe. It was their dad, but only his bottom half. His legs staggered around, and Ian was upset to see his father's confusion. Barley tapped out a rhythm on Dad's shoes, just like he'd done as a child. Dad tapped his foot in reply, then placed his foot on Ian's. He knew his sons were with him. Now Ian and Barley had to find another phoenix gem to retry the spell before sunset. But first they had to get a map to help them. "We'll start at the place where all quests begin," said Barley confidently. "The Matterhorn's Tavern." The Matterhorn was a legendary 1,000-year-old warrior. Ian had his doubts, but the three Lightfoot men piled into Ganiver, Barley's van, and drove off. Along the way, Ian used old clothes to make an upper body for Dad. When they arrived at the tavern, they found it was now a family-friendly restaurant hosting birthday parties and karaoke, and the Manticore, now better known as Corey, was no longer the fearsome beast spoke about in legends. Barley asked Corey for the map, but she refused. Corey now believed quests were dangerous. Barley reminded Corey that she used to take risks and live for adventures. Realising she was living a lie, the Manticore cried out, "What have I become?" Then she blew fire around the tavern, burning everything modern. Suddenly, a flaming wooden beam started falling towards Dad. Using the staff, Ian was able to use a levitation spell and save him. On a menu, which was based on the original map, Barley found a clue that led to Raven's Point, so they jumped in Guinevere. On the way, they needed to get petrol. As Ian was filling up the petrol can, he heard Dewdop, the leader of the motorcycle club of tough-talking spirits called Pixie Duster, arguing with Barley. Then Dad accidentally bumped into the Pixie Duster's motorbike and they all fell over. The sprites were furious. Ian, Barley and Dad jumped in Guinevere and managed to get away. However, they were soon pulled over by the police. Ian used a disguise spell to cloak himself and Barley in an image of Officer Bronco, their mum's boyfriend, but the spell came with a rule. If Ian lied, a part of the disguise would disappear. The part worked until one of the officers called Barley a screw-up. When Ian disagreed, one of his legs vanished. Barley knew Ian had lied. Having got away from the police, Ian tried to explain that he didn't think his brother was a screw-up. But Barley knew magic didn't lie. Barley turned on the music in the van and got out. "I don't know how any of this stuff works," exclaimed Ian. "All I know is that everything we've done tonight has gone wrong." "It's gone wrong because you won't listen to me," replied Barley. Suddenly, Dad started dancing to the vibrations of the music. He strutted over to the boys and got them dancing too. With the tension broken, Barley said he wanted a chance to prove himself, and Ian agreed to do things his way. Meanwhile, worried about her sons, Laurel had been to the burning tavern where the Manticore told her about their quest. The tavern owner then remembered about the Phoenix gem curse, which she'd forgotten to mention to Barley and Ian. The only thing that would help against the curse was her enchanted sword, the Curse Crusher. They raced to the pawn shop and managed to get the sword back at an inflated price from the greedy owner, Gretlin. Back on the quest, Ian, Barley and Dad had reached a statue of a raven. Barley realised that the clue wasn't leading them to the raven's point, it was telling them to go where the ravens were pointing. Sure enough, when they looked in the direction the statue pointed, they could see another raven in the distance. Ian was impressed. Maybe his brother had been right all along. Following where the ravens were pointing, they eventually came to a raven that stood near a river. There was a loose stone on the raven, which Barley pointed out. The strange symbol on the stone gave him an idea. "We go to the end of the water and we'll find that Phoenix gem," said Barley. Ian, Barley and Dad followed the river into a cave. Using magic, Ian made a raft from one of Barley's cheese puffs. Along the way, Ian practiced other spells. He felt more confident that he would be able to perform the visitation spell again and finally meet his dad. At that moment, Barley shared a sad memory when their dad was in hospital. Barley was too scared to go into his room to say goodbye. Barley sighed. "That's when I decided I was never going to be scared again." The river ended at the entrance to the final gauntlet. Barley said the Phoenix gem would be on the other side. They ran through the tunnel and entered a small chamber, which started to fill with water. The boys guided Dad to a portal opened. They climbed through the portal into the sunlight above, but they discovered they were back in New Mushroomton, right where they started. "No, that doesn't make sense," exclaimed Barley. "This has to be where the Phoenix gem is. I followed my gut." Ian was crushed. He's trusted his brother and it had got him nowhere. Ian walked away with Dad, leaving Barley alone. Ian sat on a cliff as the sun began to set and pulled out the list of things he's wanted to do with his father. He was about to scribble them all out when Ian realised something. He'd already done them all, not with Dad, but with Barley. He thought about all the times during his life that his brother had encouraged him, had fun with him, and had helped him become a better person. Barley had always been there for Ian. Now Ian would return the favour. In the meantime, Barley noticed that the stone from the raven statue fit perfectly in the old fountain. It opened up and a hidden chamber revealed the Phoenix gem. Ian returned to help, but suddenly a smoky mist poured out of the fountain. It was the curse. The fire-breathing beast stomped towards Barley. "Run!" he shouted to Ian and Dad. Just then a dark shape swooshed down from the sky. It was the Manticore wielding the Cursed Crusher. with Laurel riding on her back. While Laurel and the Manticore battled the dragon, Ian put the Phoenix Gem in place and cast the visitation spell. This caught the dragon's attention. Barley wanted to distract it so Ian could finally meet Dad. "No!" exclaimed Ian. "You say goodbye. I had someone who looked out for me, someone who pushed me to be more than I ever thought I could be. I never had a dad, but I always had you." Ian hit the dragon with a spell as Laurel tossed the curse crusher to him, and he plunged it deep into the curse. The dragon exploded in a blinding flash. Suddenly, there was another burst of light. Ian saw Dad fully materialising in front of Barley. Tears filled Ian's eyes as Barley and Dad talked. When the sun set, Dad hugged Barley and then disappeared. Barley told his brother how proud Dad was of Ian. Ian smiled. "Well, I owe an awful lot of that to you." "He kind of said that too," said Barley. "Oh, and he told me to give you this." Barley gave his brother a big hug. The quest had changed the Lightfoot family. Each of them had discovered things about themselves they hadn't known before, and the experience of seeing Dad return, even briefly, had brought the family closer together than ever. No matter what was to come, they would always have each other to lean on. The end. So we will start with our A4 piece of paper. The next thing we need to do is fold it in half, like that. Then with our scissors, we will cut along the line we've made by folding it in half. Now you'll have half an A4 piece of paper. So what you need to do next is you need your glue, and you're going to glue this side here like this, and we're going to roll our paper along like that. Just push down on the glue so it sticks, and then we're going to roll it and keep rolling till we get about that much of the way, and then we're going to glue, put a load of glue on here. Then we're going to carry on rolling. And we're going to pick it up and push it down to glue it down. Now it will look like this. Okay, the next thing we need to do is put this to the side to let the glue dry. With our other half of the paper, we're going to fold that in half. And we are going to make a circle. So you can draw one first and cut around it, or just start cutting a circle. What I am going to do is start cutting a circle. Our circle doesn't need to be that big. I'm going to cut round. Now I have made a circle. And once I've done that, I'm going to cut into the centre of the circle, like so. And then I'm going to cut a triangle out of my circle. So I've cut a triangle out of my circle. And once you have done that, then you are going to make it go in a shape like that for the top of our rocket. So you're going to need glue to glue it down. So you will fold it over and glue it down. Go. So I've glued down the top of my rocket. So I'm going to put this to the side just to let the glue dry a bit. And then once you have done that, the next part is to cut up pieces of tissue paper or paper. I've already cut mine up. So I chose red and orange. You can do any colour that you want to do. And get your glue and glue around the inside of the tube. So I'm going to put a load of glue on the inside of the tube, just makes it faster. And then I'm going to start sticking in my tissue paper like so. I'm going to go around and just push it on to where I've glued it. Press it on. And glue some more in. And some more. Sometimes the glue gets stuck to your fingers, like what's happening to mine. There we go. And I'm going to glue some more there. And put some more. There we go, I think I have just about enough. So once you've done that, put it down the right way. And now it should look like this. So for the final part, I'm going to glue the top of our rocket on. So to do that, I'm just going to put some glue on the inside, like that. Just going to go around and just put loads of glue inside, like that. And then you're going to place it on top, press down a bit, just so some of the glue can start sticking on. This bit's a fiddly bit. Now this bit takes a little bit longer to dry. And once you've done that, you will have your rocket. I'm going to put this one to the side so it can still dry. You need to give it a few minutes to dry. And so your rocket will look like this. And then all it's time for is to fly it.